You ever feel that strange ache inside your chest? The one that whispers that something is off? That the world you know is only the shadow of a bigger truth you were never meant to see? That's the feeling I got the moment I held the postcard. It looked harmless. A simple rectangle of aging paper, edges softened by time. But the moment I touched it, something inside me tightened the way your heart does right before you fall. Not out of fear, no. Out of recognition. Because the image printed on the front, it wasn't from our 1960s. It was from a 1960s that never belonged to humans at all. And somehow, I knew it. The postcard showed a launch pad, but not like the grainy footage we grew up watching. There were no American flags waving, no Soviet insignias stitched onto the chests of determined astronauts. Instead, towering over the steel scaffolding stood a vessel unlike anything human engineers could have imagined in that decade. Smooth, reflective, curved like a teardrop turning into light. You could almost feel its hum through the paper. Above it, the sky wasn't blue. It was marbled with a second, dimmer sun. And standing proudly in front of it all were the winners of the space race. Not us. They looked humanoid enough to unsettle you. 2 arms, 2 legs, upright stance, but the proportions were off, stretched in ways that made your eyes want to look away and stare longer at the same time. Their skin shimmered in iridescent tones like deep-sea creatures just brought to the surface. They wore uniforms that seemed alive, glowing faintly with shifting geometries. And each of them stood taller than the shadows of the launch tower behind them. At the bottom of the postcard, printed in a stylish retro font, it read, "Greetings from the galactic frontier, -1967. And that was when my chest tightened again, because the message wasn't written to anyone. It was written from someone. You might think the most terrifying part was realizing aliens had reached space before humans ever could. But that wasn't it. The true fear, the one that seeped into my bones, was understanding that in this alternate timeline, they didn't just beat us. They helped ooze, and we paid a price for that help. Historians in this parallel world traced the moment everything changed back to a single miscalculation in the year 1961. Soviet probe drifted too far beyond its intended trajectory and crossed into a region of space it was never meant to reach. Instead of vanishing into the void, it was not by enemies. By civilizations so advanced they considered war primitive. Almost amusing. They arrived not with weapons, but with offers. They showed Earth what humanity could become. Eventually, they taught us physics that bent time like cloth. They cured diseases that humans once believed were divine punishments. They even prevented a conflict that, in our world, nearly eliminated millions, but every miracle has a cost. The aliens' assistance came with a silent consequence. Humans stopped dreaming as boldly. Why strive when someone else could hand you the stars? The postcard's edges crackled softly as I flipped it over. There was a second message, this one handwritten, a message that didn't belong in the year 1967 at all. They said the race wasn't about who reached the stars first. They said it was about who deserved to keep reaching them. The signature was smudged, almost erased, but not completely. It wasn't a name. It was a warning. They're coming back. Halfway through reading it, I realized something strange. My hands were trembling, but not out of fear. It felt more like when you hear a story that echoes something deeply personal, something you didn't know you'd forgotten. That odd pull toward truth, the kind that makes you lean in instead of stepping back. And maybe that's why I didn't stop reading. Below the warning, someone had drawn a small diagram, a star map with 3 intersecting paths. At their center was a single planet, Earth, but the lines around it looked like they were tightening, converging, as if the postcard wasn't documenting the past, but predicting a return. I suddenly wondered, what if these postcards weren't souvenirs? What if they were instructions? Or worse, apologies? A gust of wind rattled against the window as if the world itself reacted to the thought. For a moment, it almost felt like something out there was listening, and maybe it was. You know, it's funny, stories about alternate realities are usually just entertainment. But this one didn't feel like fiction. It felt like a memory left behind by someone who'd seen too much and didn't want to forget. Maybe that's why you're still here, listening. Because some part of you recognizes that even our reality sits on a fragile branch. That history could have bent a little differently and turned us into passengers instead of pioneers. Maybe this postcard is more than a story. Maybe it's reminding us of something we've lost. The hunger to explore, the courage to imagine, the stubbornness to build what no one believes possible. If aliens did win the space race in an alternate 1960s, the real question isn't how they did it. It's whether we would have fought to win it back or simply handed them the launch codes. If you're still with me, then you know this journey is just beginning. And trust me, Zoo don't want to miss what comes next. So do this. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this with someone who loves strange truths, alternate time, and the stories hiding between the cracks of reality, because the next postcard might not come from the past. It might come from the future. And when it arrives, you'll want to be here to read it.